In Peru, social sectors saw a national civic strike to demand the resignation of Dina Boluarte as thousands continue to arrive in Lima to voice their demands. Browne was sworn in for a third term as Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, leading his Labour Party after winning the legislative elections of the Caribbean country. The U.S. hit its debt ceiling of $31.4 trillion, the maximum amount of money the Treasury is authorized to borrow to pay its deals. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. In Peru, social sectors started a national civic strike on Thursday to demand the resignation of Dina Boluarte as thousands continue to arrive in Lima to voice their demands. The national strike is replicated in different parts of the country as protesters descend on the capital city, Lima. In Arequipa, demonstrators hold protests and have blocked several roads to show their rejection of the Boluarte administration and the Congress. Local media indicate that constant mobilizations by different trade unions and social organizations are to be expected throughout the day in demand of new elections, the closing of the Congress, and a final end to reception. Meanwhile, the government of Dina Boluarte ordered the deployment on Thursday of more than 10,000 police officers allegedly to protect and control the so-called Lima takeover. The decision comes as a massive march called by the citizens and social organizations arrives in the capital city of Lima to demand her resignation and the immediate call for general elections. Journalists discontent against the Boluarte regime has kept the country in suspense and under a wave of protests since last December 7, when the former president Pedro Castillo was removed from office and imprisoned. During this time, the administration has unleashed a brutal repression against demonstrators, which has so far killed 53 Peruvians and has been questioned by international organizations. Ecuadorian workers will take to the streets this Thursday in the first national protest of 2023 against the neoliberal policies of the government of Guillermo Lasso. The protesters oppose the administration's attempts to privatize Social Security, a move through which the government seeks to avoid a multi-million-dollar debt with the Social Security Institute. Furthermore, union organizations have spoken out against a referendum promoted by the government for the next February the 5th, coinciding with the sectional elections. The referendum aims to amend the constitution in regards to the extradition of Ecuadorians, the autonomy of the general attorneys generals, a reduction in the number of assembly members, and changes to the citizens' participation council, as well as the social control and environment. And on Thursday, the Argentine President Alberto Fernández will inspect the progress made at the Néstor Kirchner gas pipeline under the construction in the town of Doblas, province of La Pampa. According to the press secretary, the president will have accompanied by the economic minister Sergio Massa and Governor Sergio Silioto. According to the Energy Minister, Agustin Jerez, the gas pipeline should be ready by June, and it will allow the country to save some $2,200 million a year, which are currently spent on oil imports. On Thursday, Antigua and Barbuda's Prime Minister Browne was sworn in for a third term after the ruling Labour Party secured a victory in the legislative elections of the Caribbean country. The ruling party obtained 1,285 votes against 621 for the Alistair Thomas of the opposition United Progressive Party and Jamel Knight of the National Democratic Alliance. In a first of Antigua and Barbuda's history, Browne, 55 years, is the first executive leader to win 3 consecutive general elections and consolidate his position in the next 5 years. Won 2 of the 3 seats in the constituency, according to the preliminary figures revealed by the Electoral Commission of Antigua and Barbuda. More than 60,000 citizens were called to vote for the renewal of the Senate and the House of Representatives. The Venezuelan government announces that the non-compliance with the agreements of the dialogue table in Mexico that involve the unlock of the Venezuelan resources held aboard. From Caracas, our correspondent Leonel Retamal with the details.
President of the National Assembly and Chief of the Venezuelan government, Jorge Rodriguez, gave an ultimatum to the opposition sector with which they are negotiating in Mexico, so they complied with the release of the Venezuelan state resources held abroad.
If they do not comply with the refund of the $3.2 billion of the Venezuelan people that had been stolen and that we had agreed to refund, there is no reason to continue a dialogue with people that do not honor their own words.
According to the last agreement signed in November 2022, these resources would be managed by the United Nations agencies in Venezuela and allocated to social programs. There is a transversal rejection in Parliament for the delay.
There were many expectations before the signing of the social agreement, more than $3 billion destined to solve issues of health, education, electric energy, and those affected by tropical waves.
The opposition sector with which they are negotiating in Mexico is the same sector that promotes the extraction and plundering of Venezuelan state resources, seeking to officiate the process of the Bolivarian revolution.
Those who have denied the resources for the wage increase are the same ones who sat at the negotiating table. Their directors, such as the U.S. State Department, deny the resources so that those wage increases can become a reality and reach the Venezuelan population. The income of working men and women has been affected, and we have defended it. We have defended it in 1,000 ways, and we will continue to defend it in 1,000 ways.
In the last 6 years, Venezuela has lost $232 billion and 99% of national income has been reduced. According to President Maduro, this has had an effect on social programs and salaries.
If there were no blockade here, we would be receiving $40 billion a year. At present, we are not even receiving $3 billion. With $40 billion, we will be guaranteeing decent salaries to Venezuelans. The opposition always works on two sides. They sit at a table, talk, reach agreements, negotiate, and on the other side, in the permanent agenda of destabilization. It seems that they want to fish in wild waters, as they have stated when they went all over the world to ask for sanctions. The intention is not to give oxygen to Maduro. However, in this case, it does not affect the president, but the Venezuelan people.
The government has said that it is advancing plans to recover basic service to expand social protections and collective rights and to equitably distribute to the positive growth figures projected for 2023.
Leonel Retamal y Jesús Romero, teleSUR, Caracas, Venezuela.
We'll take a very short break now, but remember you can now follow us on our TikTok account as teleSUR English, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. The United States government is facing a high risk of default as the clock ticking on the nation's debt ceiling on Thursday. The U.S. hit its debt ceiling of $31.04 trillion, the maximum amount of money that Treasury is authorized to borrow to pay its bill. With debts climbing up to the limit, the Department of Treasury will not be able to issue new debts to pay off those overdue, which leaves the likelihood of defaulting quite high. International Monetary Fund's First Deputy Managing Director Jita Kopagna warns that the U.S. government's fall might lead to the grounding of its credit rating. In the framework of the World Economic Forum, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres warned of the grave geopolitical division and mistrust theory the world apart, calling for actions to reform the international financing system and reduce the impact of climate change.
We risk what I've called a great fracture, the decoupling of the world's two largest economies. A tectonic drift that would create two different sets of trade rules, two dominant currencies, two internets, and two conflicting strategies on artificial intelligence. This is the last thing we need. The IMF reported that dividing the global economy into two blocks could cut global GDP by a whopping $1.4 trillion.
Swedish environmental activist Greta Thunberg lashed out on Thursday against representatives of the political and business elites greater than the World Economic Forum in Davos for privatizing their own interests over those of humanity and the planet. Together with other activists, Thunberg announced that the leaders gathered at the international meeting are the people who feel the destruction of the planet, the same who are at the center of the climate crisis and investing in fossil fuels. She emphasized the irony in the fact that these are the people the world is trusting to solve its problem. In an event organized by the CNBC channel, Thunberg, who was briefly detained on Tuesday in Germany after participating in a protest against coal mining, stressed that these elites have demonstrated time and time again that they prioritize selfishness, corporate greed, and short-term economic profits over people and the planet. On Wednesday in Davos, the Secretary General of the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, Haitham Al-Ghani, assured that he had a lot of confidence in China's economy. In an executive interview on the sidelines of the World Economic Forum, the executive praised China's economy and the strengthening of its leadership, government, and people. China shows stable economic growth in the past years despite pressure including the resurgence of COVID-19 and a complex external environment. On Tuesday, China's National Bureau of Statistics reported the country's economy grew 3% year-on-year to a record of $18 trillion in 2022. On Thursday, the Prime Minister of New Zealand, Jacinda Ardern, announced her resignation from office as from February this year. In a speech, the New Zealand leader said she no longer has the energy to continue governing the country after 5 years and a half in office. The Prime Minister's decision comes 9 months before the new parliamentary elections. Age 42, Ardern was elected Prime Minister in 2017 and is now due to leave office on February the 7th. From that day, the New Zealand Labour Party will vote to elect a new leader. The Spanish Civil Guard carried out more than 100 interventions to help motorists and patrolling cover streets after a storm fine which has made the way across northern Spain. The storm already claimed one victim, an 80-year-old man whose body was discovered in a port of Basque town, Bermeo. In a nearby town of Sondica, emergency services rescue a bus full of children trapped on a flood road. According to the country's meteorological services, a fine broke out on Monday and is set to continue until Friday. And we have more news coming up after this financial break, so don't go away. Welcome back. During the visit of the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov to Belarus, President Alexander Lukashenko said his government has honored its commitment to support Russia's special military operation in Ukraine. The Russian Foreign Minister stressed that his main concern is the security of Belarus and Russia because they know the West's intentions. Meanwhile, Kiev authorities accuse Belarus of being accomplice of the Russian military operation. However, the Ukrainian military ruled out a new Moscow offensive from Belarusian territory despite the fact that Russia has a military presence there of about 10,000 men with heavy artillery. On Thursday, the South African government announced it will next month stage a 10-day joint military drill with Russia and China off its coast. The country's military confirmed in a statement that the multilateral maritime exercises named Operation Mossy, which means smog, will take place between February 17 to 27. The drill aimed at strengthening the already flourishing relation between South Africa, Russia and China will be held at the largest port in the African nation and at the Richard Bay. A fire at the military base in Armenia on Thursday killed 15 soldiers after they used gasoline for the heating. According to the Defense Ministry, the blaze quickly swept through a military barrack on the village of Asada, eastern Armenia. Authorities confirmed that 7 bodies were injured and 3 of them remain in critical conditions. Armenian Defense Minister Suren Papikian said at a cabinet meeting that the fire erupted because soldiers used gasoline to fuel a stove in a violation of fire safety rule. On Thursday, Syria called on the United Nations Security Council to end the repeated Israeli aggressions against Syria territory, together with the occupiers' crimes against the Palestinian people. Syria's permanent representative to the United Nations, Ambassador Bassam Sabag, made his allegations during a Security Council meeting of the situation in the Middle East. He then said that at a time when the world is waiting for a crisis that abate and peace, prosperity and stability to prevail, the Israeli occupation authorities have decided to add a new aggression to their records of hostile acts, violations of international law, and ventures of the United Nations Charter. And on Wednesday, the peacekeepers in the Democratic Republic of the Congo announced that they have discovered mass graves containing the body of 39 civilians following a series of attacks by a local armed group. From Hague, the deputy spokesperson from the United Nations said that the graves have been recovered in 2 villages in the northeastern Ituri province. A total of 42 victims, including 6 children, were discovered in a mass grave in the village of Nyambaba, while the bodies of 7 other men were found in another village. We have come to the end of this brief. You can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our socials. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram as well. Telesur English, I'm from the South, I'm Ana Barrera, and thank you for watching.